Okay. Bruce. Wake up, Bruce. Wake up. We're doing Wiz review. It's finally happening. No, hang on. I've got a crayon, you can tick it off your list. Hey, magic. Sapient Humans, AJ here, punk poet, desperate violation of human evolution, and living nightmare. I've been hyping this up for a couple of days now, and it is finally time. I was supposed to do it yesterday, but I was just so tired. So I've taken my time today to sort of recoup a bit, write a proper script and what have you. But it is finally the time for me to do my first sort of proper book review. So it's going to be slightly different to my normal sort of posts. So I'm going to put it as a separate playlist on YouTube. Obviously on Instagram you're just going to get this. But it is for a wonderful book that I have read recently. And it is probably the best poetry book I've read in a while. And I've been reading Poe recently. So like that's saying a lot of things. I really enjoy Poe, but it's a bit dated. It's a lot dated, but no, I've really enjoyed this. I'm on my fourth read through now, and still finding loads of new stuff. It's not going to be like an analysis poem per poem, because I want you to read it yourselves and sort of get the general gist from it throughout. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to give an introduction to the author himself. An introduction to the book, its general themes throughout, and all of the sort of ins and outs of what makes this collection so phenomenal. So we'll start with the author himself. It is Barry Brunswick, or Mr. Wizard, as I like to call him. I like to call him Wiz. I chat with him on Twitter quite a lot. Very funny man. He does a lot of dad jokes. And I'm right up there with dad jokes. It's something my children find sort of hilarious about me, unless they're just being nice. But he is a legend, absolute legend. He's British born, so he was born in the UK, and then he moved down under, and he moved to the land of the spiders and the snakes. So basically he hasn't escaped the British government. And he's told me some wonderful stories of his time there. He worked in the building trade for a while, and one of the jobs he had was he had to clear out a building, and he just went into a room and it was just full of spiders. And you can imagine sort of Australian spiders are just like, no, that ain't happening. I'm okay with spiders, but like a room full of things that could probably kill you, no. He's come in contact with snakes, and I don't do snakes whatsoever. I have a proper biblical fear of snakes. So guy's faced a snake down, absolutely amazing. And he told me about a fishing trip that he went on. I love fishing, I'm a big fisherman. But he was out fishing for sort of random bits and pieces. What he did not expect was to get a shark on the end of the line. So he pulls in the shark, and I was just like, dude is he is a wizard. He is an absolute wizard. So yeah, so personal history. The guy's been through a lot. He's done a lot of stuff in his lifetime, and I have a lot of respect for him. Oh, as a side note to that, he let the shark go, which I thought even better. I was really happy with that. So his newest collection, it's his third poetry collection. He does a lot of other stuff, like a load of sort of novellas and what have you, fantasy novellas. But it's his poetry that I've concentrated on. That's just what I do. But the newest one is called Here Lies No One. Really beautiful imagery, very different to his other works. He's got more of a sort of like space age sort of feel to his other works. But this one is done, it's done a sort of a woodcut format, so it's got that sort of medieval feeling to it, and that medieval feeling runs throughout the book, and it's a perfect sort of physical imagery illustration to his written illustration. So That works really well. It's very simple, very basic, but it's the words that shine through. Really, really amazing. It's a book of 36 poems. I love numerology, I love numbers, so 36, half of that is 18, 2 8, 18, then 9, then 3 3s and 9. So yes, there's a lot of numerology there that I probably understand more in my own head than what I'm explaining. And the whole book is based on Tempus Mori. If you've not heard of Tempus Mori before, it is the sort of brutal sort of translation of that is time flies and remember death. And if you want to sort of smooth that out, it's basically the time before you die. And the whole thing runs like that. You've got this. There's lots of sort of imagery throughout every poem there that has sort of a time element, flowing water in there as well, a lot of nature stuff, very punk poet style, sort of punk poet, rock poet style, and that's in there, and that is throughout, and it's inherent, but it's not sort of obvious. It's not like you read one poem and you go, oh, he's linked that to that, he's linked that to that. It's only if you sort of really look deep into it and you're just like, oh, that's how that links there, that's how that links there. Like I said, the guy's been writing for a long time, so he really knows his stuff and he's done a really good job of this. Then you've got another image there, sort of underlying image of mental fortitude, and he speaks a lot about love and pain and solace and sort of overcoming sort of barriers and quandaries in life. But he uses it in a sort of like combat war scenario. So you've got soldiers in there, you've got weapons in there, and these aren't physical sort of armor pieces as shields and weapons. These are mental weapons, and the way you sort of gear up to sort of take on a very aggressive life that's coming towards you and all the things that are coming towards you. And he does that just phenomenally well. It's absolutely amazing. It's all about reinforcement. He's got a lot of sort of love imagery in there. I know the guy's be a very loving person, but he's also been through a lot of trauma as well, so he sort of plays those two things off very well, but love always wins, and I think that's really beautiful. It's the way life should be, it really is, but he doesn't do that before showing the darkness. The darkness is always there. He has this sort of way of using horror to reflect these things. There's a lot of sort of like zombie sort of analogies within here. I mean, there's poems directly sort of focused towards zombies and what have you, which is I always use zombies in poetry as a sort of symbol of people being controlled by the masses and just being a mindless tool of the government and their environment, and he does that extremely well. Basically, the general gist is he uses like a sort of tongue-in-cheek play of classical romance, and he does it so well. I'm not going to give specifics because you really need to read the book to understand it properly. But the sort of last thing I'm going to say about it is the way poems link in between. This was something that I found very hard to sort of go through as I was reading through the poetry, because what he doesn't do it like I do it numerically in my works. So I'll have like 1, 3, 5 and 7 and 9 will link. So the odd numbers will link, the even numbers will link, or I'll have like 1, 5, 10 or like, so it's very difficult sort of looking at someone else's work when you've got your own process. But he does have some major linkages there, and I mean these names aren't going to mean anything to you until you buy the book, and I thoroughly encourage you to buy this book because like I said, 4th read through, still loving it, absolutely loving it. But you've got 2 poems that really sort of linked with me was True to Yourself and Crickets. So crickets is a really interesting one because there's a lot of staccato there, and if you've ever heard of crickets, the sound of their legs scratching is a staccato, and he manages to get that sort of sound and that sort of almost like an irritation. I found it irritating reading it, but not in a bad way. It was the way that like you're trying to get to sleep and you can hear crickets outside your window, and he gets that sort of feeling in there very much so. But he also mentions crickets in True to Yourself as well. And it's a nice little sort of reflective piece, the two of them there, so they link together very nicely. And then I'm going with the staccato thing again. There's a bit of prose he does in there as well called Death by a Thousand Cuts, and that runs staccato as well. So that's got a sort of like a sort of self-mutilation sort of darkness to it, and you've got the staccato of the hacking and slashing, and it's really brutal, to be fair. It's probably one of the more darker sort of Brunswick poems I've ever read. It comes out light in the end. He always does a really good job of that, but it was really really heavy, and I really enjoyed that piece. But that also links in with Scars of the Heart. Obviously you've got the cuts and the scars, but they link in really well, and it's really nice when you're reading through a poetry book and you go, oh, that links with that links with that, and it's nice to appreciate someone's sort of mental aptitude whilst you're reading something. So that was really cool. And then I'm going to move on to my last little bit now. You've got Brightness of the Sun, and that's a poem based on sort of inner magic. And then you've also got my favourite poem throughout the entire book, and this is one that I really wish I could share with you properly, but like I said, you need to buy the book because this guy deserves people to pick up a copy of this, because it is amazing. It's a poem called The Magic in You, and I read that and I cried reading that poem because it was just so powerful, and there was sort of personal trauma in there, there was sort of uplifting spirit, and there was this sort of overall feeling of going from being a sort of weak individual, but knowing that you're full of strength, but not knowing you're full of strength, and over time that strength starts to sort of grow within you. And I absolutely loved it, and it's the only poem that I'm going to quote. I'm not going to quote the whole thing because it's like he writes. Some of them are epics, but yeah, we're looking at 2 or 3 pages, and I'm not going to read out 2 or 3 pages because you're better off reading them yourself and taking them into yourself. But I've got a couple of lines from that poem, and it's the only quote I'm going to be giving, and it's: "We're losing our senses and sitting on fences, all to seem as though we are pure." And it's that whole idea that it's a feeling of sort of modern idealism where you can't really say anything either way. You can't be left, you can't be right, because the right will slam you or the left will slam you. So everybody feels like they're sat on this fence, and that's sort of the way sheep work. Like, not on the fence, but just to the side of the fence. They're pushed up against the fence. They want to get out, but they're too scared to get out, and they're too scared to be inside. And it's a really, really amazing sort of quote on sort of modern perception of sort of governmental policies and media policies. And yeah, absolutely amazing, absolutely amazing. So give me a second, I'm just going to flick through. So yeah, well done me. At the bottom of my cheat sheet, down to basics. I love this book, and I think I've said it enough already. Like, I do love this book. I think this is absolutely amazing. It's on Amazon.com. It's called Here Lies No One by B. Brunswick. I've done like a sort of written review for it there on some sort of book app. Can't remember what it was. I'll post a link to that anyway. And yeah, if you need a new poet in your life, someone that's going to sort of sort of encourage you, not just in your own writing skills and what have you, but also to sort of forward yourself in life and love. Definitely B. Brunswick, Here Lies No One is such an amazing read. You can check out his other works as well, and they are just phenomenal, absolutely phenomenal. He's done such a good job on each and every piece of his work. I'll show you how much love I put into this. This is my cheat sheet. I don't know if you can see that, but yeah, I went to town on it. It had me writing, it had me drawing, it had me really excited, and like I said, it had me reading over and over and over again. I think I read through it like 2 times before I wrote the review, and I was just like, I'm reading this again. And like I said, I'm on my 4th reading now. So if you buy any work this year, then definitely whack that one on your wish list. So thank you, Barry, for giving me the opportunity. Thank you, Wiz. It was amazing, and I am literally addicted to your work, dude. So I hope this does you some sort of glory, and I really hope that everyone that listens to this goes out and gets a copy of this book, because you will not be disappointed. So yeah, that's my first book review. I'm not going to do my usual other stuff that I do with my other videos, because this is going to be on a separate playlist. But yes, if you've got a book out there that you want me to review, then definitely send me a hit up on Instagram mostly. I'm still not used to YouTube. So if you've got me on Instagram, just send me a message, and then I will check out your book, I will give it a review, and I will do it the most justice that I can, as long as I enjoy it. And yeah, thank you for listening, guys. Much love, much peace.